Hey guys, this is Katie Picasso. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do this really gross but really easy burn makeup. It's really great for Halloween and it's versatile, so you can do this application on other parts of your body. Okay, for your supplies, you can get all of this at your basic Halloween store. Anywhere that has costumes pretty much will have these items. So the first thing that you need is a bruise wheel. I use Ben Nye makeup, but really you can use any cream makeup for Halloween and it's totally fine. You also need liquid latex. I am using clear latex in this application, but you can use flesh tone. You also need basic black eyeliner, some blood as well. I've got stage blood and then I've also got dark blood here. Stage blood is okay, but not great for this application. The dark blood is actually better because it's thicker. And then you're also going to need some tools. So you'll need a Q-tip, a blending sponge, some toilet paper, which is going to be, super technical. And then you also need a stippling sponge. You can see the little black guy there at the bottom. So like I said, these are really basic items. And for the toilet paper, I would say the closer to a scratchy tissue paper consistency, the better. It's just not as great when it has super textured like mine. Okay, so let's get started. First, you're going to need to rip off some toilet paper, and this is 2-ply, so you're going to want to divide the two pieces. Once you have gotten your 2-ply separated, you're going to want to break that up into 3 or 4 smaller pieces. Next, you're going to take your liquid latex, and you're basically going to make a base layer of latex to apply the toilet paper to. So once you've got that down, you just need a small amount. Then you're just going to take one of your pieces and plop it right on top of the liquid latex. And then you're just going to really pat it down to make sure it sticks. So once you've got your first layer of tissue paper down, you're going to start around the edge. So you basically just want to get a really good foundation to hold all of the edges down, and just start at a corner and work your way all the way around the edge of the toilet paper, making sure that none of it's going to come back up. So you can see that this isn't perfect by any means going around the edge. The main thing that you want to make sure is that the piece of toilet paper is secure. And actually, with what we're doing here, having imperfect, bumpy latex is actually better for the texture of the final product. Once you have the outside done, you're going to go in and fill around the inside. This really is the exact same principle. You just want to make sure you're getting it completely covered. The bumpier the better for this, just as long as there's no toilet paper showing. I'm just going to keep going around until it's completely covered. If there's any thin spots, you want to go through and make sure that you covered those as well. And here is what that looks like. You can see it's relatively bumpy, which is actually good. That's what we want. So now I'm going to start adding on the next layer of toilet paper. I'm just touching up a little bit, blending around the edges to have this blend into my skin a little. And then I just want to make sure that it's wet for when I go and add my next layer of toilet paper. I also want to go up my finger a little bit here just to make this more realistic. Regular burn would never be actually square, so making it imperfect is great. So now that my layer is damp again, I'm going to go ahead and add the next layer of toilet paper. Exact same principles here. You just want to pat it down to make sure it sticks well to the latex, and then you start at the edge and work your way all the way around. For this one, it's not really important to do much blending because, like I said, imperfections are really going to be important for this. You want it to look realistic, and burns and really any sort of a scar or an owie in general are going to be pretty imperfect. Once you get the edges and the inside done, I'm actually going to go through and start adding some raised up areas. So I'm just kind of layering a circle of liquid latex to make an edge for what's going to look sort of like a boil. This is really simple. As the latex slowly dries, you just kind of add more layers to it and build it up. So there is another technique for this. I also like to use the toilet paper to make the raised edges as well. If you just grab one little square of toilet paper, you can kind of roll it up into like a really, really thin line here. I'm going to break this in half just to make a little bit of a smaller piece. So when you start rolling here, you really do just need it to be pretty thin. This isn't going to be an enormous boil, so it doesn't have to be that tall. Once you've got it pretty tight, then you just kind of make a circle. I'm not trying to make this by any means a perfect circle. I just want it to make an outline of what would kind of occur naturally. And once you've got that stuck down, you just want to cover that with your liquid latex. I go all the way around, and then I usually try to kind of stick latex in between the bottom of the toilet paper and the top of my wound, just to make it so that it's more cohesive. Sweet, so here are the two boils. I think they look pretty good. It doesn't look like the toilet paper is a completely separate part, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Now comes my favorite part. I'm going to start the makeup. Usually when I'm working with boils, I'm going to start with my black eyeliner. So what I'm doing here is just kind of making a base for the craters, if you will. What that does, it kind of makes it shadowy, so it makes it look really dark at the bottom, makes it look a little bit deeper. And it's really easy. You don't have to do this perfectly. You just want to go into each of them and get just a simple black base. You can even not have it completely filled in, and that's perfectly fine as well. You can see neither of mine are perfect. Moving on to the bruise wheel, again, I'm going to be starting with a darker color. I'm starting with this kind of blood red color. It's not the darkest, but I'm going to use that as the base for the edges, the inside edges of my boils. And I'm just basically going up from the black. You don't want to completely cover the black, but it doesn't need to stay completely uncovered either, if that makes sense. And I'm just going in, trying to add a little bit of depth and shadowing. Across your hand, this part can be really splotchy, or your hand or whatever body part you're doing. This does not have to be completely covered at all. You're going to be layering several colors, so I'm just really quickly going in and adding this dark red all around to just get my base color, and then we'll build up from there. It is also important to blend this into your hand so that it doesn't look completely separate. Going back to the bruise wheel, the next color that I'm going to use is actually the darkest on the wheel. I'm going to use this dark brown to go through and make my hand actually look like it's scorched. This I'm just going to splotch around on top of the red, and I'm not going to do as much coverage. This is more like a defining shading type color the way that I'm using it. I want the red to definitely show around there. If you kind of think about like burnt cheese, how it has black spots, that's sort of the idea that I'm going for. So I'm just going to fill in certain areas here, but I really do want to leave the red pretty prevalent, showing around the edges of the burn and in between the black. For this next part, you want to switch to your Q-tip. I'm actually going to be using the yellow here. This is for the part that I would refer to as rotten, I guess. This is where you're making what would look like pus, or just the really disgusting parts of a real burn. Basically infection, I guess, is what this is intended to look like. So I'm just, again, splotching this in around in between the two colors. I like to have a bit of it around the boils. I like to have some of it kind of randomly. I just want it to look pretty naturally placed. So you can kind of just highlight your boils with it on the inside a little bit as well as on the outside. This is definitely not a color that you want to have all over, so it is important to make sure that this is just being used as a highlight and that it's pretty spread out. So you can see how gross that's starting to look. And then I'm kind of just going to go backfill with some of the black to tone down the yellow a little bit, make my hand look a bit more scorched, so that it looks a bit more like a burn. Going back to the bruise wheel, I'm going to use the brightest red that I have, and I'm going to go back through and highlight this to kind of look a little bit bloody. I would imagine that if you had a burn this bad, there definitely would be some blood involved. So I want to have some of the brighter red come through, and it also just makes it so that it's not completely dark. Lastly, we're going to go ahead and add the blood. I am using this stippling sponge because it really does help to make the blood look more coagulated. I'm just going to go ahead and start with my boils. I'm going around the edges, but then I also want to squeeze it so that I can kind of fill the boil with a little bit of blood. Use the depth of the boil really, and it kind of just makes it look like it's pooling a little bit. Around the rest of the burn, you just want to do light splotching. This blood, like I said, is thicker, so it does a really good job of looking coagulated. And there you have it, your disgusting burn. You can go bloodier if you want to. You can even go a little bit darker to look more scorched. Because of the liquid latex, you can actually peel this off, reuse it, apply it to a different area. Here's mine peeled off. It's super easy to reapply it. You just do a layer of liquid latex. You can go around the edge as well if you want to have it blended into your skin. And that's that. Thank you so much for watching my tutorial. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to see more tutorials as they come up. See you guys next time.